Just picking up a bit of breathing noise on the mic, on your mic, I think.
I moved it. Is that better?
Yes, I thought you stopped breathing.
I haven't stopped breathing.
Either's fine, you know.
It was a slightly different position to I normally have it.
Right. Just Jason we've got to find now.
Just Jason.
I still don't know which one he's on. I should check which one he pinged from last week.
He's just disappeared.
I actually got 3 accounts for him now.
He goes, I just gets into his clown. That's what it is.
There's 3 of them.
That's why he has so much problems with batteries on his Surface. He's got 3 people using them.
three. Maybe that's what he's trying to do at the moment. He's trying to get some charge in his Surface.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw a message flash up then.
I haven't. What do I get it on my phone? Sometimes I see the messages on my phone, but I don't see them anywhere else.
The best one, yeah. There you go. Hello.
That's always good.
That's a good. So it must be on one of them. Let's try that one.
Yeah, the one he said hello on, probably.
But surprisingly, it doesn't tell you which one it came up. I could see he said hello on the phone. Oh, it might like that one. No, I thought I heard a clicking sound then. I'll send a message, and then I might be able to see it on here. Oh, there you go. Hello. Yeah. So that's from the one with the little head. So, which means it's the right one that we were calling. Let's try them again then.
One which is online. It says it's actually on the call.
Yeah.
He claims he's on the call, according to my thing.
It's come up. Oh, I can see him typing even. Just keeps hanging up. I'll tell you what, I'll drop all the calls and... Oh, he's restarting.
Okay, well, let me restart first.
Yeah. We've got 2 of the 3 working, so... It's actually good now. I can see what chat he is. Which Skype. So we have to always remember that one. It's the little head.
He wants to change his profile pictures and all the rest, so they've got crosses through them.
Yeah. Is his proper, so we've got his proper one.
Yeah.
So so is the mobile definitely happening then? Let's have a look. My machine's just doing an update. I think it's just doing a restart.
I've certainly seen people report that they've got it. So
actually, yes, I did see someone sent me a thing to it. So I think I'm going to post that. If you've got a 6:30, it's not going to get the update, is it?
No.
Right. And it'll be just for SIM unlock 1 devices, won't it?
Yeah.
Or is it? Let's see. I can't really test it. I shall ask my contact who's got it, and then we'll find out.
Somewhere I've got a response to that. You remember that email I read out the other day? I've got a response to that. So if I can find it, I'll follow up on that. But I'm struggling to find it at the moment. So it's flooded with new ether emails at the moment. So everything else is.
Oh, that reminds me. We're on the live stream, so I'll sort it out after. But I've got a contact for you for if you're going to ether.
I am indeed.
I'll send you that. Right. That's Jason's still restarting. Yeah, it's rolling out, what it seems. I'm just going to ask if it's SIM locked. Right, Jason is saying he's online now. So let's try that.
That's a good start.
Right. Anything on that? No. Maybe he's still starting up. Give him another second. The joys of Skype. You don't think we've been doing this for 10 years and we have these Skype issues, not every week, but
almost.
somehow Jason called in and it cut us all off. Right, let's try it. This is it. This is the one we go for now. I didn't even back in.
Yeah, if he doesn't get on now, he fails to win the bronze medal.
It was funny. It rang and cut us all off. Not answering. We're gonna have to start without you, Jason.
Another message from Jace.
No, that's from me. I'm just telling him.
Oh.
Right, I think we'll have to see if we can get him on as we go along. So, Gary, good evening.
Good evening.
Jason's now saying busy. We are having great problems getting Jason to join us this evening. He's there, but Skype does not want to let him join. So we'll keep trying as.
It's probably because he's on the surface and hasn't got enough power.
Yeah, he probably is running out of power, or he's swearing at he's swearing at his surface currently.
Yeah.
So I'll keep trying to get him as we go along. So anyway, I was going to say we normally talk Windows 10 Redstone and anniversary updates, but that's all.
Was that Jason again?
It could have been. I don't know. He's tried to get him back on. It wasn't me. It just cut off itself. Okay. So I was saying, Redstone once. He's a bit old hat now. As we look at, we've got the new version of Windows 10, Redstone 2. The first builds have started to appear.
Yep. Have you been using it?
Yes, I have. Yeah. So we'll talk about that. We might have a phone update to talk about. And here comes Jason. You just failed on the bronze.
another fourth place.
I have no idea what's going on there. In the end, to get it working, I had to run full-blown Skype, and then who knows?
Who knows? Well, we
put it down to battery gate.
Yeah,
we've already put it down to that. Don't worry. We've already said that. So we were just doing the intro. So we normally talk about Windows 10 anniversary update or Redstone 1, but that's all hat now, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. That was almost a week ago now, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's old hat. So we'll be talking about Redstone 2. We'll be talking about a couple of problems people are having with the anniversary update. We can talk a little bit about Groove and cumulative updates, and of course the mobile build looks like it is on its way out. So I'm just trying to get a clarification on whether this is for SIM-free ones or is it for all Windows 10 phones.
Yeah.
So I can't quite tell at the moment.
I know that's the problem, isn't it? When you're like us, you're already on the build, so there's no way to test unless you reset the phones back.
Well, I've done that, but I've got mine's a SIM-free one, so I can't tell whether it's going out to everybody or just the SIM-free devices.
Yeah, and all my devices are SIM-free, so I can't help on that one.
Yeah, so I've got a blog post ready to go, but I just can't quite tell just yet. So I'll push the button on that. So let's start with where should we start? Let's start with before we move to Redstone 2, and let's look at the old version of Windows, Redstone 1, and the anniversary update, which is all of 2 weeks old now.
Yeah, I mean, quite a few of my
breaking
devices.
Breaking news! It is my phone. My 1520 is now picking up the update. Ooh. So that's a SIM-free one. So it is on its way out. So the only thing I don't know whether the carrier ones are not included or not. So anyway, so sorry I interrupted you there for some breaking news, but so yeah, so
that breaking news which will be 2 days old by the time anybody actually listens to this show.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. I always forget about that. So where were we before I interrupted? Yeah, so the anniversary update has been rolling out. Has it got out to everybody yet?
I've still got
PC's version I'm talking about. Sorry.
Yeah, I've still got a couple of devices which haven't got it yet, so I'm guessing it's just one of these slow releases.
Yeah, I think they are rolling out very slowly, aren't they? I know my wife's Surface Pro 2 hasn't been offered the update yet, and I've got an old laptop that the kids use, and that hasn't been offered the update yet. But I think they are being very careful about the rollout, aren't they? And I think, typical fashion. I've seen it talked about. I think people are expecting it just to suddenly miraculously appear on the 2nd of August, but that's not the way Microsoft.
I mean that would be a fascinating thing to find out about how that update's controlled and how they actually stagger it out, because it's quite a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, I believe. So this is going back to the original Windows 10 release back in July 29th last year, and I think it was Paul Thurrott was talking about that they've basically got a kind of predefined list of known good hardware. So if you've got something that's quite obscure, you might be down the bottom of the list. But if you've got something that's quite new, that's been maybe there's a lot of Windows Insider feedback for. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure there must be some kind of arbitrary control, or it could be just they're rolling out on a pure set number of devices, so 100,000 get it, and then that kind of clogs up the queue, and then they open it up a bit more. It's difficult to know.
Yeah, and my Dell, I think I talked about this last week now, that Dell XPS 15 has got the update, and some of my older machines haven't. So that ties in with what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean it's so difficult for me because the device I want it on, I think my VM that I've got on my Surface Pro 3, that I actually went looking for the update, even though I've got two VMs, two snapshot branches, one which is registered on the fast ring and another one which is pure out of the Insider program, and gets updates when they're offered. But that one I did do the advanced, and then it takes you to the Windows 10 anniversary update page where you can actually then force it to download and install. So I did give that one a bit of a helping push. So I think it's there if you really particularly want to go look for it. And I know Donna on her blog post mentioned how you can get the update now, but I think for those that are willing to wait, I think eventually it will just get offered.
Yeah, I don't see any rush to get it. I mean, it's a great update, but it'll come when it comes.
Yes.
There have been a couple of issues, and I know I interrupted you earlier on because you think we started talking about phone and go back to PC, but we'll come back to phone. But yeah, there are a couple of issues that we've seen. Some anecdotal and some are actually documented by Microsoft. But so, did you see that one that's that they've acknowledged, the one with the Windows 10 freezing? With
I saw I saw your article on it. I haven't heard anything about it anywhere else. I think actually that's not quite true. I read something on Windows Central where a guy had cloned his hard drive, and it basically created lots of different partitions, and possibly the default Windows partition wasn't the active partition. But I haven't seen your particular one. But I do know. So that was, I think, the one you reported on here was whereby people have moved chosen the options to move apps to the Windows to an SD card or another drive.
Yeah, that's it. I think it's the combination of two things. You've got the SSD drive, and then you've chose to move some user data onto a separate drive, which is, it seems a bit. I don't know. It seems a bit. It seems like that's a bit of an obvious configuration. I'm surprised you haven't picked up on that one sooner.
Yeah, and it's obviously not affecting everybody, because I've got that configuration and it hasn't actually affected me. But it does seem a very common idea.
Yeah, because I mean, it's something we used to do. I don't know whether it's still kind of was done as much, but at one stage it always seemed to be a good idea to always, you have your system drive and then you have your user data drive, and then if you had to reinstall Windows, it was generally easier to do it. But although it's not really as important nowadays, I don't think. Mm. But that's one of the updates, and there isn't a fix for it currently either, is there?
Nope. So they are working on it, but there isn't one yet.
So I think what the solution is to roll back, and you've got to go through safe mode, haven't you, to roll back. So it's obviously some driver, advanced SSD management tool or something like that that's doing it. So you've got to go into safe mode or recovery console and roll it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, really, isn't it? Because you imagine that most people that and maybe I'm being a bit of a sweeping statement, but you'd expect people that customize their system in that way would probably be more kind of tech enthusiasts. Like, for example, my mum, who's got a Windows 10 laptop, or a laptop that's been upgraded to Windows 10, she wouldn't know to go look into move apps and stuff to another drive or to an SD card or something.
No, definitely not. No, it's got to be advanced users, and you think they would be the people on the insider program.
Yeah, although it was quite common advice from stores for those people buying the really small MMC type devices, ones with sort of like 16 gig and still system drives, to actually move the apps to the SD card. Sorry. So, but I don't know if that's affected, because it is SSD drives they're talking about, isn't it? Not EMC. They haven't said it's eMMC as well, so I'm guessing that maybe it's very specific.
Yeah, and I've been through the answers forums as well, looking at some of the common issues, and they all seem to be driver related. And this goes back to something that we've talked about many times for insiders, and we've got used to this, is that when you install a new build, it puts the drivers it thinks you should have, not the drivers that you are currently using.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the issue, really, isn't it? So as Windows insiders, we're used to each new flight that we get is a whole new build. But obviously for normal people, in quotes, they just get the cumulative updates, and I don't think they necessarily appreciate that while the badging Windows 10 hasn't changed, this is like a Windows 10 to Windows 10.2 upgrade. And it is a complete new build, so that's why you end up with the Windows.old folder, whereas with a cumulative update you don't get that. So it is for all intents and purposes a brand new clean install. And I know Gabe, and I think Donna subsequently has talked about what they would like to move to is a more incremental build process, so that you kind of so that it is like a big service pack essentially. But I think on the flip side of that, there is an advantage this way, isn't there? People know historically that Windows kind of does slow down and bog down over time, whereas with this new build, once they do a significant update, it is the way that upgrades work now since the kind of Vista Windows 7 era is it literally wipes out your installation, you copies over the Windows image file and expands it, and then migrates your settings and personal folders back into that.
I noticed. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just say, which is great because since that's why with Windows 8 and now with Windows 10, clean installs become less important because each upgrade is essentially a clean install, so it stops that kind of bogging down over time. But on the flip side, there is downsides to that. Yeah,
I was going to say, on the good side, I noticed my laptop at work does seem a bit faster, and it doesn't seem to be paging as much since I've put the update on, which is good. The downside is, and it's something I've mentioned before, that on my own Core 8, I've got 3 drivers I've got to correct after each build, so I've got used to that. But then this Dell, which hasn't had any preview builds or anything like that, keep it nice and clean, I had to try and get all these the MIDI drivers for my Roland MIDI interfaces for music stuff working again, because I had to put Windows 7 drivers on there to get it to work initially, and I did this whenever I got it. I spent quite a bit of time fiddling around with drivers and manually editing files just to get them working, because there was no workaround, or there's no modern drivers for it for my MIDI interface. So I got it working, and of course I completely forgot about it. It did the update, and I came to do some recording the other day, and my MIDI interfaces weren't working at all, and I had to kind of remember, what did I do to get this working? And I luckily all the files were still there that I needed, so I had to do that, got those working that way. But it's looking at the forums, this seems to be the most of the issues that people are having is with driver problems. And I can imagine, like with that Encore 8, where actually the network, the Wi-Fi doesn't work at all after an update. Now that is going to drive people to the forums, because they're just not going to know how to fix it. And it's very fiddly until you know what you're doing. It is quite fiddly, but I've seen people with blue screen errors and things like that, and it's all driver related.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting, without playing down the issue, the Surface Pro 3 battery degradation thread, there's lots of people talking on there because they've installed the anniversary update, and because it's a new build, it's wiped out their battery history. So you can imagine the conspiracy theories and tin hat conspiracy theories going around that one about Microsoft's now kind of trying to cover up the battery issues by deleting the history. But yeah, my attempt at explaining why that didn't go down too well.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah. So the driver model is good. The fact that you get the latest drivers, it's a bit frustrating when you've. Example is a test machine I have at work. The latest graphics driver doesn't support the right monitor mode, so I always have to roll it back to I think it's January 15. So every time I get a new insider build, I've got to put it back, which is, I've got used to it now. But I can imagine it, just like you said, normal users are going to have frustrations with that.
Yeah. So without sounding like Donna too much, I hope you've put hope you've submitted feedback items for this.
Yes, I have for the Encore, all the drivers on there. Yeah, been submitted.
So some good news though. I upgraded actually did a clean install on TouchSmart. I haven't been using it for a while, so I actually took the DVD for this and upgraded it. And for the first time ever, the TouchSmart worked immediately after an install, with all the network working and the touchscreen working.
Right, that's good.
So they're obviously starting to improve that out of the box experience.
Yeah, when where the drivers work, it's a very good experience. Like I said, my machine at work actually feels faster, and it definitely paging less. So yeah, I don't know. There are definitely improvements to the core of the operating system as well. And it's not just the drivers; everything has got through. But my colleague at work installed the update on Friday, and it stopped his connection to the Exchange server working.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, and he spent all day trying to resolve it, and in the end he couldn't get it to work. He rolled back, and it started working again.
Have you ever heard me say that the strength of Windows is its diversity and the weakness of Windows is its diversity?
Yeah.
All my machines are working.
Yeah, and that's why I still kind of mourn the loss of Windows RT, because that kind of was the dawn of that more appliance type Windows device, which I think is far more suited to consumers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but they always complain at me because my machines. I always say, well, mine's working. Of course it would be.
You must have upgraded it wrong.
Yeah, that's right. I blame them. Yeah, I think it took about 3 hours to install and then about 3 hours to roll back. But anyway, so that. But yeah, lots of people having issues in the forums, but it's nothing out of the ordinary, I guess. And there's lots of people in there helping them out as well with drivers. So that's a good thing. Did you see as well that before we move up to date, talking of old operating systems, Windows 7 and Windows 8.1 are moving to monthly updates?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. That's. I mean, I can't really see myself needing to install Windows 7 again. But when I have done a few months ago, it was so painful. I think it's like 260 or 200 updates to download, and not to mention the fact there's a bug in Windows Update that if you don't install a certain patch manually first, it can take ages and ages for it to actually finish checking for updates.
And also, there's lots of patches that get, updates that get installed, and then you reboot, and then it picks up a load more, and then you reboot, then it picks up a load more, and it never seems to. It's like a never-ending process.
Yeah. The one thing I would have liked to have seen, definitely for kind of Windows 7, really, is a final service pack, just to have a point that you could create an image that integrated service pack 2 that takes you right up to that point where they've started doing the cumulative updates. I think I can understand why they don't want to do that, because at the end of the day, they don't want to make it too appealing to keep Windows 7 around any longer, because it is in danger. While I think it's far more secure and advanced than Windows XP ever was, there's still that risk that it might become the next Windows XP, and we all know what the British police force is like at upgrading. So
yeah, I don't know. Did we talk about that? I don't think we did.
No,
that was a story you tweeted, wasn't it? How many machines did they have with XP on?
It's still in the 20 plus thousands, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think the very best, they're looking to roll out Windows 8.1. I think it was one of the ministers was kind of saying, look, hang on a second, why are they going to Windows 8.1? Surely they should be looking at 25. I was just reading Holiday Boys tweet message then. Sorry. Surely they should just be going straight to Windows 10, because that would make sense now, because that's the one that's going to be, the Windows that we know for years to come.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, and imagine it's not. There's councils and the NHS, and it's quite a big problem, isn't it? Across probably multiple countries as well, of old machines. I was talking to someone today about licensing, and being audited by Microsoft to prove they had the Windows XP license, which are from 2001 or something like that, and it wasn't a UK-based company that I was talking to, and they said they only keep 10 years worth of invoices, so there's no way of proving that. So so Microsoft would say, well, you've got to buy a license. Well, how do you buy a license for Windows XP? You can't buy a license. And it was a bit of a vicious circle, but yeah, I imagine there's a lot. There's a lot of industry, and mainly, I guess, a lot of government type stuff where they've got old machines that. With serious vulnerabilities on as well. That's the problem. It's not just the fact it's old, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Holiday Boy in the chat room says XP Media Center. That's it. That's what the problem. That's the police are using. They've all got Windows XP Media Center Edition Diamond Update.
Yeah, probably listen to all their music. That's probably true.
Yeah. In fact, I did see a thread on the forums about that. Someone complaining that they'd lost when they went to Windows 10. They lost Windows Media Center and couldn't rip their DVDs, their CDs anymore. So I did point out that you can do it other ways. But anyway, so that's the old stuff. But I think it's good that they're moving to that model, because it does get confusing, especially when you've got hundreds of machines to deal with and manage using an update server. There's still a lot of patches you've got to download. So moving on from that, so I did say, I did interrupt and derail the thread before. The mobile update is on its way, the Windows 10 anniversary update. So my 1520 is picking that up, and I've seen other people on the forums picking it up, and they are carrier. They're on carriers, I think. So I've got a feeling it's just going out to all phones.
Okay.
It makes sense. It would make sense, because we did talk about last week whether there's a firmware update associated with it, and I believe there is on certain phones. So that might be an interesting.
Yeah.
Question.
So my 1520's picked up that update now, and that's running. So it picked up an update a couple of days ago, which is the point update, and now it's getting the 143.93.67. I've checked my 950, and that hasn't picked up any updates. So there isn't a separate update going out for insiders or anything like that. So they'll actually be on the same version, same build. Actually, so my so we're on mobile. We're not seeing the new Redstone 2 builds yet, are we?
No, not yet. No, they're focusing on desktop, and I think it must have taken you hours to do that video of all the changes in 14.901.
Oh yeah, yeah, I did. That's the new build that's out. The Redstone 1 is out. Is old news now. Redstone 2 is here. In fact, although I noticed they don't actually call it Redstone 2, it's RS Preview, isn't it?
Yep.
The build number.
Right, yeah, making it a bit more Bit more subtle, are they?
Yeah. So yeah, it doesn't come up RS2 when you look at the build signature. It's RS preview. So 14901, quite a big jump then they've given. I think like you suggested the other week that they're giving themselves some space for server stuff, haven't they?
Yeah. Either server builds, or if they find themselves where they really need to. I mean, for example, this freezing issue, it could turn out that they need to compile, build, what would it be, 14394 or something.
Yeah. Now I looked on my log files because I often see build numbers on there. And that I saw 14899, 14900 as well. But there was only 1 or 2 hits of those, so I suspect they were internal test builds. So 14901 is the one that's gone out to insiders on the fast ring, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So, like you said, it took me ages to record the hands-on video. It's funny when you look at the timings. You can see when I look back at the at my YouTube channel, I can see early Redstone 1 videos are all very short. Then the middle ones are quite long, and then the later ones are quite short again as the features get introduced. So I think we know where we are with this. It's very early days, but actually. I was out on the Friday when they released it, and I got 2 people message me saying, "Are you doing a video?" So yes, I did do a video. There's nothing really to talk about. There was one change, wasn't there? Did you see that? It's quite subtle.
No,
incredibly subtle.
Microsoft specifically called this one out. I can't claim to have found this, but there's a new setting in File Explorer for sync notifications provider. It's very, very much buried, but and you don't see any UI for it. But Microsoft did provide a screenshot on the blog post where there's a little "Welcome to the Windows 10 anniversary update" and a little sort of bit of dialogue saying, "Here are the changes," and the button to click for what's new. And that sync provider is what actually pushes where the message comes from and gets pushed through from Microsoft. So we've not seen the UI for it actually popping up, but the setting is there now, and Microsoft actually called that out as a feature.
Yeah, I don't know how many people are actually going to understand what that is.
I understand. I can see why they want to do it, because for insiders, we well used to see Microsoft blog posts of what's changed on each build, and we've got used to those. And in fact, we get to the situation where we forget when we do hands-on videos, we forget features, because I did forget a few things that have been introduced over time. And then even when the release goes out, Microsoft do a blog post on the Windows blog, but most normal users don't read that, do they? And they don't read TDL or any of the blogs. So I guess I can understand why they push that, at least a dialog box with a button that you can click to take you to a web page. So
yeah, it's just the name of it, a sync provider. It's just like a what?
But I mean, the setting is enabled by default anyway, so a normal user won't ever touch that.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
They'll just see the dialog box. So maybe we'll get to see that in future builds where they'll actually push be testing that dialog box out, but we haven't seen that. There weren't any known issues, but apart from Adobe Acrobat Reader crashes, which I thought was quite funny. That is one of the most frequently crashed applications, I think, on my systems anyway. Although I don't think I've used it for a long while.
Yeah, I thought this is news.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like saying Flash could crash your browser, isn't it?
It's like saying it'll be difficult to say Skype Jason. That's just
yeah, that's right. Yeah, it'll take us 10 minutes to do to initiate the call. So that's the only change. I did put it on my Surface Pro 3, my own Core 8, and all my other devices on the fast ring, and like we expect, nothing to see really as such, because they're talking about one core, aren't they, and fixing the core, working on the core stuff. So we're not going to see that yet.
Yeah. I think this is going to be quite a significant mobile stroke Xbox release. In what they're doing with the core.
Yeah, because it's a shared core, isn't it, across all these devices? So, actually, talking about Xbox as well, I got an Xbox update, but I haven't checked the build numbers. But I think that was over the weekend. Did you get that, Jace?
No.
I thought you were on the pre. Oh, you opted out, did you?
Sorry, on
Xbox.
To be honest, I've not been using the Xbox, so I don't really know when it updates and when it doesn't. The kids have been on it obviously, like with some holidays and everything, but yeah, because it just updates in the background, you never really you're not sure of it unless you actually kind of go looking for release notes and such, or into the preview program notes. So at the moment, I have still got our Xbox opted in. I'm still trying to decide whether or not I should come out, but as I mentioned last week, the actual options are really confusing, so it's knowing what to go to.
Yeah, it's funny. My son was actually playing on my Xbox, and I think it was on Saturday evening, and it was about 11 o'clock at night. It was just 10 o'clock it was, I think. And I said, you need to turn that off now. And it just came up with the thing saying to go online, you need to. He took him offline and said to stay online, you need to apply the update. So I said, "Oh, don't bother, I'll do it." And then of course I forgot. And then when I came to and I watched the DVD, I remember it said you need to go online. So I said, "Oh, put it online," and then it started downloading the 500 gig update. So 500 meg. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean that is a problem.
Hang on. No, 500 meg. The update was quality.
Yeah.
Build image.
Yeah, because 500 gig would take Jason about 6 months.
Yeah, thanks for that, Gary. Yeah, I mean the one thing with the Xbox One updates, they're cumulative, so they are just, I know 500 meg's not small, but in relative terms, considering I think the whole operating system is about 3 gig. But yeah, it's I think that's the one negative aspect of having an Xbox as your media kind of entertainment box, and that you sit down and want to watch some Netflix, and of course there's a mandatory update before you can even watch TV, and it's like, I only want to watch a film.
That's exactly what I was doing. I just wanted to put a bit of a music DVD on in the background, and of course I had to wait for I did this update.
Yeah, although I have seen more recently that I think Major Nelson tweets when he mentions the updates, and he says that if you haven't installed it by this date, it will become mandatory. So I think they are maybe trying to kind of reduce that need to install it immediately. But the Xbox 360 was like this, wasn't it? It was, I guess, to run a service like Xbox Live and all the games and multiplayer platforms, you kind of really need everyone to be on the same build. So it does kind of make sense that you have to upgrade before you connect.
What I did notice, I'm not sure how new this is as well. It did allow you to go offline, and we had Frozen Motorsport open, and I said, "Oh, we'll have one more race," and just carried on. So I don't know if that's a new thing or that's always been the case.
With the Xbox 360 that was the case as well. So you could choose to skip the update, but it just disconnected you from Xbox Live. Right. So you can, if you're just playing a split screen local multiplayer game, then you're quite happy to carry on. I think the exception to that is if there's a game update. So if there's a game update, you have to update the game before it will play.
Yeah. I'll have to check the build number and see what it's on, but they're still on 14393, aren't they? They're just incrementing it.
Yeah, it's on a slightly higher. So I think the desktop and mobile build is on 0.67 now, isn't it? Whereas the Xbox seems to use in the thousands. So I think one of the ones I saw was like 1018. So like 14393.1018. I don't know what it's up to now. I guess what you're saying, it's probably moved on a bit. But I mean, I must admit, I was playing around with Cortana. It was quite interesting, to be able to ask Cortana kind of use traditional questions like what's the weather like and stuff like that. But I noticed you were chatting on Twitter where it sometimes will trigger a web search, which if you said start a party chat and invite my friends, you don't really want that to go, I didn't understand, so here's a web search. It's that flow. It makes sense on a PC or on a Windows phone, but it doesn't make sense on an Xbox. It needs to be a specific trigger to search.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I don't think I've ever gone on my Xbox and gone on to just do a generic search.
Yeah, I think we did a bit, but especially using voice, it just sounds a bit odd, kind of Xbox Bing, although it would be Hey Cortana Bing now, but.
Well, you wouldn't get the Bing in Hey Cortana, would you? Because you can just say search for.
Yes, of course. Yeah. I tell you what, I do find, because with the Xbox One, you don't need to pause, and I think that's the same with the 950 and the 950 XL. But because I'm used to my 930, that you have to pause between saying "Hey Cortana" and then waiting for it to go into listening mode. So I'll tell you one thing, Gary, I don't know what you've been finding. Since this last Windows 10 mobile update, which was supposed to fix the Bluetooth lockup issues, my Bluetooth's become really unreliable again in terms of me connecting to two devices, and I'm back to restarting my phone quite frequently.
Yeah. I found it doesn't lock up, which is good, but it is a lot less reliable. So I think whatever was to cause, what they did to improve the reliability caused the lockup.
Right, and they've rolled that back.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Interesting though, Bluetooth must be a very difficult thing, because on my Nexus 6P, the car has probably Bluetooth, because I have the same setup, I think that you do, Jason, where I've got a separate Bluetooth device for music and a separate Bluetooth device for a sort of hands-free kit. So if I'm listening to music, it's using one Bluetooth device, and then a call comes in, it switches Bluetooth device to the car kit equivalent in the car. But it takes, on the Nexus 6P, if you're listening to music at the time, there's a huge delay for it to switch over. So consequently, you're pressing answer on the car, on the steering wheel, the answer button, and the phone doesn't answer. And it takes ages, and almost to the point where the person gives up, and then you've got to call them back. And eventually it will come through if they're persistent, and then you can answer with the car. And even if you use the answer button on the phone, it still tries to use the car, but the car can see the calls in. It's got it up on the display, and like I said, you can press the answer button, but it just doesn't answer. And then eventually it'll answer, but the person's given up by then. You have to ring them back. But I also noticed if you're playing music and then you hit the call button from the car, there's a good 20 or 30 seconds before, to the point where you hit the button, it stops the music and then starts to dial. Actually, not even answer, just actually starting the dial. So I don't know if it's a common thing with the Nexus, my combination of my car kits. I really don't know, but it's very frustrating when you can't answer the phone. You just press the bloody button, it's still not answering. I've never had that on the Lumia.
So we've always discussed how difficult is it to get Bluetooth working in the car. In fact, actually, it's really difficult because the stacks was never designed to work with car audio. This whole idea of chopping and changing between sources and everything, that was never part of the original design of Bluetooth. And I kind of hope they do something about it in Bluetooth 5, but from what I've read of that, they don't seem to have taken that into account in that either. So it does seem really strange that that's one of the prime uses most people have for Bluetooth these days, and it's not actually something which is designed to do.
Yeah, no, it is frustrating. Like I say, my phone will connect straight to the car kit, and it registers as audio. Sorry, your kind of voice and music as it's described on Windows 10 mobile. But what I'll get is it will connect to the phone kit every time, but then I can't get it to connect to my little Bluetooth speaker. So even though I forcibly try and get it to connect, it just fails to connect. So, whether or not it's that the Bluetooth speaker's got an old, Bluetooth profile in it that it just can't cope with, but I just have to restart the phone, which I have to say is quite handy with the wireless charging cradle in the car, because with modern mobiles, they don't charge when they're off. So if you set it to shut down, as soon as it shuts down, it detects it's on charge and powers back up again, which is quite nice. Actually, as a quick aside, I'm just looking on Amazon, because I mentioned in the chat room about how the Lumia 950 is down to like £295 now, just for the standard 950. I actually noticed that now there's a notice on the site on Amazon where every mobile phone sold by Amazon now gets registered with the check amend and the police what is it, the National Mobile Property Register, which I think it's quite a neat thing. So basically your phone's automatically registered with the phone ID and your address. So if ever you report it stolen, it can be deactivated. And I think that's quite a kind of what's the word, a very considered approach from Amazon.
Yeah, because I guess if you go through provider, they would do that for you, but if you're buying them unlocked, they wouldn't.
Yeah, I've not seen that on a mobile phone site before.
I think the $295 for the 950 is not a bad price. You're going to get
great. It's a great phone for that price. It's also a great tablet for that price. Effectively, if you put a Bluetooth keyboard up with it, you've got the whole Continuum stuff. And And I've actually started to see some people using. We've been writing some Windows 10 apps, and they've primarily been for Continuum for a couple of corporates using 950s as Continuum bases and RDP sessions and things like that. I actually managed to write some code using the 950 the other day from a hotel room, actually RDPing into my home box, which is quite remarkable. So yeah, I'm certainly quite proud of. But that price, I mean, that's ridiculous. And I've actually seen it lower than that as well. There's a couple of people. I actually saw a couple of 950s going for 220, which is incredible price.
Yeah, I do wonder how much longer stock's going to be around for.
No, have they actually stopped? I know the factory closed down, so I guess they must have stopped production.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I really don't know.
It's a shame really, because it's not extraordinary hardware, but it's certainly very nice hardware. I think when I use the 6P, the metal back makes it feel more like a premium phone. Of the 6P, the 6P feels more premium. But the general operating system, Windows 10 Mobile over Android, I do prefer Windows 10 Mobile, but it's just the App Store. I was playing with a Parrot air drone, and of course, you just can't get the app for that. There's third-party things in there, but they're not. There's not an official app, and it's just things like that. And it's always that one thing, isn't it? That one app that you want to do something, and it's just that one store app or bank app or something like that that causes you the problem. And then you think, well, for £295 you could get Nexus 5X or something like that, and then you get access to those apps. But then you're back on Android. But I've got to say, I've been using Android now for the last few weeks. It's perfectly fine. You can very easily adapt to it. You get all the Microsoft apps on there: Outlook and Remote Desktop and Office, OneNote, Groove. You get it all on there. So there's not a huge difference in moving platforms now.
No, there isn't. Sorry, go on, Gary.
Well, I've actually been playing with using an Android phone as a main driver for a week or so, mainly because of an app I'm writing for someone else. So I need to have that running, and I've really struggled with a lack of live tiles. It's that sort of information at a glance for stuff I do. I mean, when I pick the phone up in the morning, I rarely actually go into anything. I just look at the live tiles, get my information I need to go and move on. And I haven't found a way of duplicating that. I mean, I know you've got widgets on Android, but the ones I want don't seem to be there, or they don't give me the information I want to get. It's a very strange situation.
Have you tried using? Is it the Microsoft Launcher?
Yes, I'm using the Arrow Launcher, and I like that. And that gives me some of that, but it still hasn't got all that information at a glance.
I mean, that's what keeps me on Windows Phone, really, because I just got so used to the live tiles, and iOS has just got nothing really to even come close to it, which is a shame. And also, it still amazes me that the iPhone doesn't have wireless charging.
I miss wireless charging with the 6P. I really do miss that.
Yeah.
But apart from that, you can very quickly adapt. And like I said, I've got Cortana, and I've got my Microsoft Authenticator and the Microsoft Health app. I don't really feel like I'm missing out, but it's these other things that come along that you do use that make the difference. That Android Pay work. I can just use that, and it's coming to Windows Mobile at some point.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things I do find myself using on the Android. I was chatting to someone the other day about the idea of using effectively a remote desktop onto Android from your Windows Phone, which I thought was quite a clever concept. I don't know if anything will come with it, but I could actually see that working.
That's almost what they were kind of talking about in certain early days, wasn't it, with the Android Bridge? But that was where the Android apps ran on the phone itself.
Yeah, but this concept was the idea you actually have sort of effectively an Android in the cloud.
Yep. App virtualization using Android, and Windows hosted. Yeah, the thing, I know we've said this a lot before. There's Windows 10 Mobile. There's nothing wrong with the OS. It's probably not quite as polished as the desktop version. It is really just down to apps, and we're talking about Redstone 2. And maybe that's going to have some focus on mobile. I'm not quite sure what they could do to bring people back, if it's even possible. Whether it's just a case of got focus on certain markets like business, or just giving up on consumers.
The thing is, the strategy could work. I mean, it's a very difficult thing to say how it could work, but the strategy could work if they do get the businesses on board. I mean, the HP thing seems to be getting quite a lot of pre-sales businesses, so that's possibly. So I think that's an interesting one, because if they got the level of commitment in business, that would bring consumer apps back, because business users use consumer apps. And there would be some pressure for that, and you'd actually see some funding coming in. I mean, I've known corporates actually pay for apps to be put onto certain platforms in the past, so I could see that happening again if the Windows stuff got that sort of level. But I mean, to be honest, the best thing they could do would be bring that bridge back for Android. I know it affected performance, and also it had a lot of political things for developers, but there's so few people developing for Windows now. It does it matter if they actually brought the Android stuff back to the Windows phone?
And I think, sorry, I'll let you go into that, Jess, but I think had they done that, and I would have probably just continued with the 950 XL and just installed Android apps on it.
Are they still pushing forward with the iOS bridge?
Yeah, that keeps getting updated as well, so that's good. But you have to remember that's a recompile of the apps. You basically take source code and make it.
Yeah.
So there is definitely the Android thing was definitely a better approach from the point of view of consumers. It wasn't a good approach from Windows developers' point of view, because it obviously, what was the point of being a Windows developer if you're going to have that? People would just port the Android app straight away and not actually spend money doing it. And also, it had the issue that certain things wouldn't be supported, so certain APKs wouldn't have worked, and that might have been a big support issue for Microsoft. Which is why I quite like this idea of doing an emulated approach to Android, or a remote desktop type approach, because that way you haven't got any of those issues. You're actually using remote hardware effectively. I don't know how that would work. I mean, you could certainly see if the Surface Phone, it's unlikely to turn out to be an x86 with Intel pulling out of the market, but if there was a Surface Phone, it was x86 and it could run x86 programs, there would be a very easy way of bringing Android across to it, because the emulators would probably just run.
And of course, perhaps what the ideal solution will be is a complete, not just the Arrow launcher, but a complete Windows 10 mobile experience launcher.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other option. You actually take the best bits of Windows 10 and put them on Android. I don't see them doing that, because they are still very keen on keeping Windows 10 at the moment.
Yeah, I think they definitely need Windows 10 Mobile to be around for a bit, but I've just always had this concern that, no matter how big Windows 10 gets on desktops, Windows 10 on desktops isn't going to drive UWPs, because I think, there's just so easy just to write a desktop app, and the likes of Sonos and Spotify, they've all got their desktop apps already. So yes, they can package them into the store, but they're still not they're not UWP apps in the sense that they would run on a phone. But I would really like to see Windows 10 Mobile opened up into smaller tablets, and it would still be a really difficult sell to people in terms of with the missing apps. But if, rather than trying to compete in terms of the the Windows in terms of the mobile phone smartphone markets, I think potentially the tablets could be a kind of Trojan horse into expanding Windows 10 Mobile on phones.
The need to still be developers to build UWP apps to have a modern app ecosystem. The strength of Windows in itself is the desktop app ecosystem, but they're old and not being updated, like Sonos app or whatever. Although, to be fair, Sonos app still does get updated. It's just that it's an old product that's been updated. But then you look at apps like the Groove app, which are being updated, albeit by Microsoft. It shows that you can create really good media type apps. So the platform is there. I guess it's all the resets and stuff that puts developers off, and maybe a period of stability with Windows 10 is what the platform really needs.
Yes, yeah. Am I right in thinking that there isn't a Microsoft Movies or Films and TV app for iOS?
Correct.
Or Android? Is there
or
one on
Android? Yeah.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, which seems given that Groove Music is on there and most of the other Office apps and everything, that seems a bit of an odd oversight.
Yeah, it's funny. That's something that I think we chatted about a long while ago. And in fact, when we're doing the book, that's if you're committed to that. Well, you can't commit to that really, can you? Because the only way you've got to be all in on Windows, and whereas Groove, like you said, is cross-platform and browser-based. Movies and TV doesn't. But I always feel like movies and TV is a bit of a poor relation in terms of all the media apps. Really, Groove seems to get all the development, and the movies and TV app does seem to be less of a priority for Microsoft.
Yeah, I wonder if that's driven by the number of people actually using that product. I mean,
which you think wouldn't be the case considering the Xbox, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for rentals maybe, but I wonder if people have a struggle kind of trusting Microsoft in terms of offering that long-term video locker. They've had so many video services in the past that have kind of shut down, or maybe I'm being a bit unkind. Maybe more music type services that have shut down. But that's why I love buying movies, digital copies of movies, and I've got quite a large library now. But I won't buy a movie unless it's got an ultraviolet copy, because I don't trust them. I use TalkTalk TV, which was Blinkbox, and while that sort of service could be around for many years, I want to know that my movies purchases are safe. So I tend to buy movies that aren't ultraviolet copies from kind of Xbox Video, and just kind of accept that there's a risk that might get lost. But if I'm looking to watch or rent a movie and I see it's an ultraviolet movie, then I'll probably end up buying it, because normally the difference between renting it once and buying it is probably only £2, £3, maybe £4. So why not just buy it and then it's there? We just recently bought all the Jason Bourne movies, so we could catch up before going to see it in the cinema, going to see the new one in the cinema. And they were like, from TalkTalk TV, they were on sale for like, I think it was either £4.99 or £5.99 for the HD copies with ultraviolet. And it's just like that's a no-brainer.
And then you use that service to watch it, but you could use another service.
Yeah, so I could use the Flickster app on iOS to watch them. It's more just if TalkTalk TV shuts down, then at least I know that, for example, I could go to Sainsbury's movie service and all my ultraviolet copies would be there. And like I said, there's the Flickster app. But what's frustrating is again in the US I can't remember if it includes ultraviolet, but it definitely includes Disney Anywhere, and that's frustrating because all the Marvel movies don't support ultraviolet because they're all Disney Anywhere, but that's not anywhere.
Oh, that was one of your previous rants, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, I know. It's
we like Jason's rants.
Absolutely, yeah. It just doesn't make any sense. The music industry kept making the mistake time and time again, and piracy was just rife in the music industry. And finally, they realised that actually, if you make it easy, and not only is digital rights of movies really complicated, like is it ultraviolet, is it Disney Anywhere, which is US only? There's still all these, music, you still get the odd exclusive, but pretty much you pick your music service and 99% of tracks are on there, whereas you have to pick your movie service in the UK, like Netflix or Amazon or Sky Now, and each of them have their exclusives. And I think it's we were catching up on, or I was wanting to rewatch the Mission Impossible movies, and literally Mission Impossible 1 was on Netflix, Mission Impossible 2 and 3 was on Now TV, and it's just like, oh come on,
it's a mess, isn't it? Yeah,
it's not, and it's not even like there's a central I mean, we pay for Netflix, and I'm currently paying for Now TV because I got a cheap offer when I tried to cancel it. But what there isn't is a service I can just go to and go, tell me where I can watch this film.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a top tip on Now TV, isn't it? Always cancel it eventually.
Pay for one full month and then cancel it, and they'll go, before you go, here's 4 months at half price.
Yep.
But yeah, it's interesting enough, and as frustrating it is as a consumer, I kudos to Netflix. I cancelled theirs while we switched to Now TV, which I thought was just going to be a month or two. Now TV movies. And I actually wondered in the back of my mind, would I get an email from Netflix after 2 or 3 weeks saying, come back for a discount? And actually they didn't. And in some ways I kind of respect them for that, because, Now TV movies, I think, is $9.99. Whereas, we're currently paying, what is it? I think it's $4.50 or something, half price. Whereas Netflix is just $7.99. And you just think, and I think I've said this before, I think the other week or 2 weeks ago, Now TV, if you get your prices right, I wouldn't need, you wouldn't need to keep offering half price deals.
Yeah,
Just
no,
get the
that's
price
right.
right.
I think someone in their marketing departments decided that's a good way of doing it to retain people, but you wouldn't have so many people leaving if you actually did charge.
Yeah,
The average, I think I've worked it out. The average is about £5.79 a month over a year. So just charge that.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like I said before, I think I've been quite disappointed actually with the varied content on Now TV movies, and also sorry, I'm going to keep going on, but it's like we get the Now TV entertainment pack, and Flash Series 1 was on there, but Flash Series 2 was only, because it was current series, that it only kept episodes for like, I think it was 14 or 15 days, and because my kids had only just got into it, we haven't been able to watch
We had
Series
the
2
same
because it's not
problem
there.
So that's just on normal Sky. We were halfway through Series 1.
Yeah,
and I think they took it off because their rights had finished, and Series 2 only had, no, I think we'd finished Series 1. We were going to watch Series 2, but we were too late because they only had the catch up of the last 3 episodes.
Yes.
And it's frustrating. That's why I like Netflix. Things just work a lot easier on there. You just play them, but content does go off there as well. So it's all part of a bigger problem of rights and contract periods and all sorts.
Yeah, I got completely caught out. So I love The Americans, and I've watched I think it's the first 2 seasons, and season 3 had just started on Now TV, through the ITV Encore service. I missed the first 2 episodes, and I did something I never do. I don't buy TV series. I buy movies digitally, but I don't buy TV series. But I thought, no, it's like $1.99 per episode. I'm going to buy the first 2 episodes. I can catch up, and by the time I'd caught up, they'd deleted the next 3 or 4 episodes. So frustrating.
It is frustrating, and I think I understand to some extent the rights on and trying to keep current, but it does seem such a short catch-up period on a lot of these shows.
And the problem is that this stuff's just freely available on the internet, but music industry proved it. If you make it easy, people will pay for it. People don't mind paying for it if you make it easy.
And I think also the fact that with now TV, for example, you're paying quite a bit for that. You're paying like a TV subscription. So why shouldn't you have access to all the episodes of a series that's on there?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of problems still with that whole TV and video market. I know we're sort of getting close on time. I did want to say a shout out for an amazing bit of customer service this week.
So we can't be talking about Microsoft Surface then.
No, we're not. We had to talk about Pebble.
Okay.
So last week, my Pebble Time, the one I use for gardening, because I've got 2, one smart one, started losing battery, and normally it lasts about 8 days or 9 days, and it was actually only lasting about half a day to a day and a half. So I contacted Pebble Technical Support. They asked me to run some tests, came back to them. So that took me about half a day. They then said, fine, we'll get your replacement out to you. And that replacement arrived on Monday from America.
Well, that's very good service.
Oh, wow, that is really good.
Unlike the service, I mean, we haven't got a lot of time left, but suffice to say that there's been no update on the Surface Pro 3 battery.
Nothing to
81 pages.
Yeah, and people that just they can't use their devices. I get these stuff takes time, but time's fine when your device is still 99% functional. But when people are getting to extremes of sticking ice packs to the backs of their machines to keep them running, it's just it's
going crazy.
It's wrong.
Now I know, Gary, you had an email, but we're gonna have to carry that one over, I think.
We'll carry that next week. That's fine.
Yeah, well, actually, there won't be a show next week because we're taking a holiday.
And and there probably won't be a show for me the next week because I'll be in Ether unless I dial in.
So so we'll have a break next week. We'll be back the week after, me and Jason, and we'll try and get Gary in on the call. So we'll save things over till then. We should have maybe a couple of builds by the time we get back. I don't know how I'll do the hands-on video while I'm on holiday, but I'll do it somehow. So just Gary, where can we find you?
You can find me Gary WMA on Twitter. That's Gary 2 R's, and obviously Fascinating Tech with Jason's wonderful article, which has already had over 10,000 people read it. So
wow!
So I'm really impressed with that.
And
it's only 5 lines long as well.
Jason, where can we find you?
You can find me at Database Jace on Twitter, ranting about Batterygate, and you can also find me on Fascinating Tech.
And just to tell you, my 1520 is just finishing the anniversary update and just finishing off. So there you go. So during the show, where we've installed the anniversary update on the phone, and it's there. So until 2 weeks' time, we'll be back then. You can follow me on Twitter at ISDixon, email me ian@digital-lifestyle.com. So we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, take care.
Cheerio. Bye-bye.